Yeah, Shahid was there. If I remember right, Shahid was there doing his personal security on Mustafa, which is Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's son. And when he comes into town, Shahid and him and maybe one or two other brothers are on his particular personal security when he's in town.
And for people who don't know, who is Shahid?
Shahid is a ranking officer in the Nation of Islam. Or he was, he's deceased now. But yeah, he was a ranking officer in the Nation of Islam.
I think he was referred to as a captain.
Yes, sir. Where in the Nation of Islam, we have a military structure. So we have captains and lieutenants and like that, and Shahid was a captain. Shahid is about 6'6", maybe 6'5", 6'6", light skin. I mean, his stature is he's hard to miss. Any occurrence with a registered member of the Nation of Islam would definitely be known by someone, especially in the ranking of Shahid. He would know before anybody, and he would pass it down to those necessary to know what was going on. So any kind of, and and the Nation of Islam is really as vast as we are a tight-knit community. So if this was to happen on the East Coast, the brothers on the West Coast would know as well. So it's a tight-knit community. So any type of occurrence like this, especially one as big as this, we would definitely know. The Nation of Islam does its own internal investigations into any misdealings with the registered members. They have their own laws, their own consequences to, like I say, to whatever the infraction is. Like I say, it could go from a 90-day suspension to a complete removal from the Nation of Islam completely. They would get as much information as they could from the law enforcement. Law enforcement would get as much information as they could from the nation, and there would be a collaboration. The Nation of Islam definitely believes in innocent until proven guilty. So our investigation would not be put you out until we find out what happens. It would be, okay, until we find out what happens, we don't have any reason to believe, what these outside sources are saying, because the Nation of Islam goes by a phrase, and it's actually scriptural, that says if a non-believer brings you information, look deeply into it unless you cause harm to somebody in ignorance. So we have to investigate on our own, and we have investigative teams. I would say no. Nobody here that resembles the guy that I talked to that night.
Can you hold that up?
No, I've never seen him before.
Can you show us the picture? Yeah, so that's a guy went by the name Poochie. And he was a gang member. He was an enforcer for one of the Piru blood gangs.
Okay.
They were around Death Row Records at the time.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I've never seen him before.
Okay.
Like, it looked like a suit to you?
Yeah.
Like what?
Lighter color, like a lighter color.
Like what shade of blue are you talking about? Like,
Not even
look at
blue.
some of the blues around here.
Not even blue.
What was
I say more gray.
More gray?
Yeah.
A darker gray or lighter?
Lighter.
A light gray?
Gray. Okay.
Usually Nation of Islam,
They go in,
they're in pairs.
Right, yeah, I know
Or
about
they're
them.
there in a, there's a lot of,
I know about them very well, and that's why I was like, you know, bow tie, suit, was that to throw me off? Was that to, you know, I don't know.
This is going to be like speculation, but if you were going to commit a crime, does it make sense that you would dress up
No,
as?
it doesn't make sense. Especially knowing from the inside out how the investigations go, it wouldn't make sense to dress up like a member of the nation unless you were simply trying to frame somebody or the Nation of Islam itself.